have a very special guest on our live stream this evening. He's a man, what can I say? He's a man with a passion and boundless, infinite energy for serving his fellow man. For years, he's bucked traditional mainstream or big pharma, shall we say, the money-making drug trap. And in the process, he has saved literally thousands of lives. So now, on top of this hectic schedule of healing, he's bringing that same human understanding and energy to forming a new country, legally and permanently, for the people who are, in any event, already the majority in that area, and of the area that will become our new country. So I'm absolutely delighted that you could make our live stream this evening, and welcome and good evening, Dr. Shawn. You just need to unmute yourself.
Good evening,
there we go.
Brett. Yeah, just unmuted. Yeah, good evening, Brett, and good evening, all of your listeners. I think I don't know who you're talking about, but I'm just trying to do my job. That's it.
Well, I can tell from personal experience. I can give testimony to the fact that what you're doing is making a huge difference. It made a difference to my family, most certainly, and to everybody that we've spoken to that has been through your care. It is something absolutely phenomenal. Anyway, Shawn, we've talked for many hours about all sorts of things, and you've got some amazing stories to tell. But this evening we're going to be chatting about the UCS. So let's start there and just put things into perspective. Let me ask you, a little while ago there was a video with you and Hein, the president of the ULA, handing you a set of documents, which seemed to be all the legal documents, information that had been collected over the last 8 years into some massive big files. It's like raw data, actually. It seems like he handed over to you. So tell us, if you can, what was that about? Or do you want to step back even further than that moment to give us a perspective? Sorry, just before you start, I see Brett Austin, you've got your hand up. We haven't really got going yet. I'm assuming that it was just an error on your part. So I'm just going to leave it be for now. Dr. Shawn, when he's ready, will ask for questions, and then we're very, very happy to take your questions. Sorry, Shawn, please continue.
No problem at all, Brett. Okay, look, that was an extremely exciting video that was sent out, unfortunately, what we would believe a little bit prematurely, because it was a part of a series of meetings that the United Cape States was having with various players in the independent space. So what has happened is we've gone to go and speak to as many people as we possibly could around the country in February. And we were able to meet with several different leaders, different kings, princes from both the Khoi and San groups.
Clarify. Sorry, Shawn, can I just ask you to clarify something? When you're talking about we, you're not talking about the ULA per se, are you?
The United Cape States.
Okay, so it's not the ULA that was talking to these people. It's actually the United Cape States under your guidance. Okay, just want to clarify.
Well, the United Cape States. Yeah, the United Cape States. We have set on a journey to correlate our nation and put them together so that we can stand as a movement forward and going as one nation to the next step.
Right.
You see, the work that has been done by the ULA, obviously you know this, is an inordinate amount of work. The legal process that they've followed has been absolutely astounding. If you go through that document and you see that legal process that Hein and his team have done, it's incredible. I mean, it really is a feat, akin to putting up, the Eiffel Tower, I would think. But it's a phenomenal feat that has been done in the face of extreme adversity, and in the face of extreme opposition, and taking an inordinate amount of time, because obviously you send a letter, you expect a response within, one would assume, 6 months. When it comes back that there's, 6 years and the letter's never been responded to, it actually, it's sort of dulls your thinking somewhat, because you really want to be in a position where you can get this thing moving, and the government has played all sorts of tricks. But fortunately, under the leadership of Hein, the ULA has been able to carry a very clear, steady game forward and lead the team in the ULA into what is now really the legal argument, the international legal argument to, without doubt, prove and allow secession to take place. So when we got to Hein down in the Cape, the Southern Cape, as part of our trip, we had met with many, many leaders. I think we were scheduled for something like 29 meetings in 14 days or something insane. And we were able to, touch many leaders and get a lot of buy-in to the process that is really the back of the Liberty Alliance's legal process. Because the legal process is going to, at some point, culminate in the secession. And then what now? So it's that what now that the United Cape States is focused on. So when we got to meet with the president of the ULA, Hein, he has handed over that legal document to the United Cape States, and we will be releasing that video in a little while from now as part of the entire package, because we have been taking that legal work that Hein has done and put a team together that has worked on putting the entire process in almost like a booklet type document that is going to have the entire process that's going to be, effectively correlated and put together to be delivered to various embassies and probably the UN and so on, that they understand that this is now the completed process. And hopefully we will then be moving. Our very, very next step is to focus all of our attention on the secession. And we want to do that very soon. So whoever's excited about going on with this thing, understand this is happening sooner than we expect. And time is running out, so we're pushing very hard for that. So I hope that gives you a bit of a background as to what that document was. And I want to tell you that it was extremely fascinating, because of all the leaders that I met and that we met, and fortunately I had my sons with me, and we were able to travel around and see a bit of the country. But of all the leaders that we were able to meet, do you know that there was only one leader that actually said to the United Cape States, well, why don't you take this and see how this helps you to get onto the next process? Here's the work that I've done for X amount of years, and the process that has actually been longer than a decade. If you go back to the former people that were working on the independence movement back in the US, dating in 2010, 2011, 2012, actually 2011, 2012, and those guys bringing their wherewithal to the ULA. It actually dates back over a decade, and he's the only man that put it on the table, says, yeah, take this and go and do something with it and go and achieve something for the tomorrow. I mean, of all of the men in the country that we met, only one did that. And that's a big something to be said about the ULA, Brett. I'm not blowing smoke up the ULA's nose, but I'm telling you they're the only group that have put together such a package and then handed it over to the UCS, because they understand that the UCS is the next logical step that their process must undergo. So I tell you what, it was surreal. And what is crazy about that video that you see, Hein was just chatting to me and just sharing, what this is all about. And I responded in kind. And that whole video was one take. We had to stop after Hein spoke because we ran out of battery on the one. But it was one take. And it was just two men sitting down chatting. It's crazy.
Fantastic. That's absolutely awesome. I'm so proud to be part of the process, certainly from the ULA side, but from the process as a whole as well. But tell me, you obviously met with quite a few other groups and so on,
Yes,
traveling around the country. What
yes.
was the general feeling about the proposed UCS? Were they aware of it? Were they excited about it? What was the general feeling that you
Depending on where we
could get?
went, one of the things that struck us most horrendously, to be honest, was the unparalleled level of poverty within the Khoi and the San groups. That was something that hit not only myself but the entire family. We were noting how very, very, very poor and what abject poverty that they do live in, and that has to change. That has to change immediately upon secession. It is actually become, as a result of that trip, one of the first and greatest priorities that we have is to restore dignity and stability into that particular group of people within our country. It's actually a priority, to be very honest with you. But that aside, to answer your question, outside of that abject poverty in many cases, the general consensus, if they knew about it, was very positive. When they didn't know about it, it was very much shock and elation that followed. If they can get free from the oppression, everybody got excited. I want to tell you, there wasn't one that we didn't get involved with that wasn't excited about the idea. There were several groups, unfortunately, that were really, and now it's going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, that were almost opposed to it, that were actually anti what we were doing. There was one or two that were really anti, but a lot of others that didn't get involved with what we are doing in the ULA really actually disagreed because they're busy running their own program. They're running their own idea or they're running their own agenda. But by and
Okay,
large, there was a very positive response.
okay, fantastic. All right, awesome. So that brings me to kind of the focus of what we put out there that we want to talk to you about this evening, the representation of all the future Capelanders in the new country. And we've had one or two a couple of questions over the last few weeks, coming from the colored community, essentially, being very concerned. Now, I do know that if people go and study the website, it will become clear to them that this is not the case, absolutely. But I'm so glad that you're here, because a lot of this is going to happen and become apparent and more clear once we have secession, once we are an independent sovereign country. But they still run on this decades old fear that they are yet once more going to be suppressed or oppressed, because in the apartheid era they were marginalized, and now with BBBEE they are marginalized because it stands for
Yes.
Black Empowerment, not colored empowerment.
Yes. Yes.
So they are a little concerned that we're just going around in circles, and they still, even though they are going to be the majority population again in our new country, they're still not going to have the benefit of the freedom that they deserve. Can you address
This
that
is
for them?
actually universal. Yeah, we can try. This is actually a universal problem that I'm noting from all the main groups of citizens or Capelanders in the New Cape. You see, the concept of one of our Bill of Rights is that we are not going to have any racial classification. So there will be no racial classification in the Cape. So when you go and fill out your form for your ID book or for your license or something of that nature, you will immediately be in a position that you will put on your name, your surname, your ID number, and then you come to a little block that says race: white, brown, colored, black, Indian, whatever. That doesn't exist in the United Cape States. So we're never going to have a color that's going to discriminate on race or to classify under race or to actually register and keep record of race in the United Cape States. So ideally, we are going to remain as a UCS race-free people. We are all Capelanders. Nobody's going to get that color distinction. Now, if you want to make that color distinction, that's up to you, but the government will never do that. It'll never be part of who the government is to make a racial discrimination and a racial classification upon which somebody, somewhere, at some time, will then utilize that information for discriminatory activity. So we're not having that. So this is a big thing. Remember, the Khoi have a long history, Brett, and you know the Khoi San. Look, that's not really a people. It's just a classification of a group of different tribes, several actually. But the Khoi San have really had a bad and raw deal that can date right back to the late 1800s or even earlier than that. You know, it can go right back, if you know, from the first time that they were really conquered, as it were, by the Dutch that arrived. So when the Dutch arrived, they conquered the Khoi and the San, the Aboriginal peoples. And then, of course, the Brits arrived and the French and the Americans and so on. And there was a conquering here and a conquering there. And for the sake of my peace and not to get shot, I'm not going to mention the fact that the Brits beat the Afrikaans and took over the country and turned it into a British state. So I'll just leave that completely aside and move on. Okay. I've already been threatened to be shot by you know, your president himself when we first met, because I was English speaking. So it was a joke, by the way. He didn't want to really shoot me. He just wanted my jacket. But we're not going there. So the thing is that within this structure, the Khoi have been at least 2 or 3 times conquered. And as a thrice conquered nation, it is very difficult for them to understand equality. Now, coming from a Scottish background, I can date 1,000 years of oppression by the English in the Scottish world. And as a Scotsman, I can, you know, go back and explain how we were conquered and how we are currently conquered and how the Scots are still now trying to be freed from that oppressive British rule. You see, now we've either got to have a mindset of getting free and staying free and becoming free, or we're going to remain captives. And this is going to be an education we're going to have to share with our indigenous people and our Aboriginal people, because they've got to know the reality within the Cape land is that all Capelanders are equally free, and they will be equally free with every other Capelander. And listen, call yourself brown, call yourself colored, call yourself Griqua or Nama or Garankua or Essequa or Scottish or British or English or Afrikaans or Boer or Italian. You're a Capelander. Full stop. And as a Capelander, you are equally free. And all of us have the same benefit, and we will walk and live accordingly.
Absolutely inspiring. Fantastic. Thank you. All right, so Shawn, are you ready for 1 or 2 questions, if anybody has any?
If they haven't fallen asleep, of course.
I doubt it very much. So right, we are now going to ask for any questions. Please, if you are not familiar with Telegram live streams, you'll see next to your name on the screen is a little red microphone with a line through it. If you just touch that little red microphone, it will look like a little blue man putting his hand up, or a little blue person, shall I say, to be politically correct. Then you can, we will know that you want to ask a question. I can unmute you, and you can communicate directly with Dr. Shawn Stewart. So now's the time. Go ahead. Shawn, you got such an entrancing story that it seems people just want to hear more rather than ask questions. But guys, if you want to ask questions, you know what to do. Just go straight ahead. So in the meantime, we'll keep chatting. And Shawn, of course, the other side of the story that we've just spoken about, the fear of further oppression, as was during the apartheid time, are some of the more minority races that are saying, but we are just once again going to have the majority of people are going to overwhelm us. We don't want to be in a country where we are the minority. We want to be on our own.
This is becoming a major contributing factor within many different groups, actually, to be honest with you. And it's not just within the Khoi and the San, it's also within the Afrikaans and Boer. And it's also within the English and the Afrikaans. There seems to be this constant fear. Now, you must understand, we have lived since the handover of our keys to the current government and their successive destruction of a first world country into now what we can just call junk status. We have watched with increasing laws further perpetrating criminal activity against the people. The Khoi and the San, or the Aboriginal people, have had to endure this arguably right through apartheid and arguably through, right back to 1910, because there was contracts that were signed that were given to them, and, they were never fulfilled. And so as each different group took over, they just didn't fulfill those requirements at all. And now you're left with this mindset, and now we're coming there in nigh on 30 years of it. And nobody is really trusting that we can go forward with this because, what about us?
Right.
We're going to be left behind, and we're going to be. It's actually a scary, scary state of affairs because everybody is in fear of being marginalized again. Marginalized again and again and again. And it's just, it is almost a mantra within our people, that the fear of being marginalized and laws laid against them and forcing them never to be able to and not being able to be free. And it's just this obstacle of marginalization actually is so high an obstacle that it's difficult to traverse to see beyond there at the actual freedom that is being discussed. And it fascinates me because while I understand it, sometimes we need to just jump over that obstacle, that little molehill that we're focusing on with a microscope, and we think it is Mount Everest, and jump over and get free, because our freedom is just a hop, skip, and a jump away, and we're nearly there. So we must move for it because it's now we're there.
And I think the bottom line at the end of the day is, do you just want to carry on the way you are right now, because we know how that outcome is going to be, or do you want to go into the new country, believe that you will be free, and just experience it? I mean, how much worse can it get, quite frankly? Shawn, we've got Jacques Salmon that is raised his hand. He'd like to chat with you. He's actually on the group chat. He's asked some very interesting and intelligent questions. So, Jacques, good evening.
Ja, goeienaand, kan ek maar Afrikaans praat?
Antwoord.
Oké. Ja, ek het 'n paar vrae gevra, maar nou dat Shawn gepraat het oor die geskiedenis, is die vraag wat ek wil vra die volgende. Wat gebeur met die onderwysstelsel binne in die nuwe land, as ek dit so mag vra? Want onthou, elke government skryf sy eie geskiedenis. So hoe skryf ons dan die geskiedenis veral in ons onderwysstelsel? Hoe educate ons kinders rakende ons eie geskiedenis? Ja, so het ons al aan gedink aan die regte geskiedenis skryf om ons veral ons kinders in te lig waaroor dit alles gaan en waarvan af ons kom? Because as a colored person, you don't hear the history of our people. You don't so much hear the history of the Khoi and the San. And if you hear the history of them, it is very selective. So I just want to know, how are we going to fit in then the history, and how will the education system change from what we now know it is in this new country. There is a one question. Then I have another question also. The other question that I also want to know. So dat wanneer het gebeur dat die Capeland sy eie regering vorm en wat gebeur met mense wat mos nou wil migreer, sê vanaf die noorde, hoe select jy mense en sê ja, kom woon in ons land, maar of nee, jy kan nie, of wat is die criteria for selection vir mense wat dan nou wil migrate from the north or whatever province they're living in back to the Capeland? So that is the two questions I have for you. Thank you.
Jacques, right, you got two lekker vrae en ek sal nou hulle albei moet 'n bietjie dink oor daar mooi te antwoord en ek gaan dit in Engels doen. Ek is ongelukkig moet eerlik wees because I think I'm not going to manage to do it in English. To answer your first question, if we are dealing with state by state education, each state generally is going to have its own original Aboriginal people. And remember, the law in the country of the United Cape States is simple, Jacques. We are not going to be having a dominant central government that's oppressing the world and everybody must abide by the dominant central government, because what we are doing is we are decentralizing education. So that is down to the state level, and the state level down to the region, and the region down to the city or town. So ideally, if you're from the Hesequa tribe, and you come from that people, I believe, and we are making this available within the United Cape States, that if you want to have schools that are only there to teach the Aboriginal people, I think that should be established immediately. And when I say Aboriginal people, Aboriginal history, Aboriginal language, Aboriginal culture, all of those things. In fact, we have gone to great lengths to work alongside the kings, the several kings that are there. We are going to still, do proper DNA testing and find out who is really who in the zoo and get exactly the right men and women in the lineages in place, and then they are going to take a very major role in government. And that role is going to be that they are going to establish, and we are going to establish, a monarchy, and that monarchy is to oversee the cultural heritage of the people. So if it's a Nama, then it must be a Nama king who's going to have a Nama school and teach those historical things and also the cultural things, as well as, how do they work through the desert? How did they work through the area? How did they live? Train your children to shoot with a bow and arrow. These are very important things that I believe must not be lost, and they must be maintained. In addition to that, the monarchy is going to be appointing people to what is going to really be called an Aboriginal Council. And that Aboriginal Council will be another leg in the legislature alongside the senator, congressman and councilman, Aboriginal councilman. And they will be establishing laws and writing laws. So to answer your question, I hope you get this clear now, Jacques. It's not in the hands of a central government to dictate what your children learn. It is in your hands to get your governor and your mayor to be teaching the things that you as the people and free Capelander wants your children to learn. I hope that excites you, Jacques, because that's exactly what we are looking at doing for the schooling and the scholastic system. Obviously, I would say, and this is a caveat, a warning, if we are only going to learn Hesequa, whatever that tongue is, and I'm sorry I don't know it, if that's all we're going to teach them without doing English and Afrikaans, the children will be deficited to trade within the rest of the country. So it needs to be alongside the English and Afrikaans, for example. But to not have it available is the crime. That we are going to prevent completely. Does that help?
Yeah, very much so. I understand that fully. So, yes, I'm with you on.
Jou tweede vraag, sê dit net weer in 5 woorde of minder.
Die tweede vraag is, what is the criteria for people that wants to migrate now
Oh, yes.
to the Capeland?
Okay. Okay, you reminded me. Thank you. Now, is that migrating from the Kalahari to the Cape Capital Territory, or are you talking about migrating from the DRC to the Cape, United Cape States?
Yeah. Whether it's from the DRC or whether it's from Gauteng or KwaZulu-Natal, if they want to come live here, is there any criteria for them, or what are we going to do?
All right, there are criteria. Once we've established the new country, the idea is that there's going to be assimilation, that they're easily able to assimilate into our culture. And those criteria are going to be required as an immigration process. So come and live with pleasure and get a what do you call a permanent residency or residency and so on, and a visa and so on and so on. But if you cannot assimilate within a certain time frame, you cannot become a citizen. Because what we want is we want to grow our nation and grow our people and have a very free and what's the word? A very free and well-oiled society. If we can't talk to each other, we can't speak in our native tongues to one another, then we have a problem. I mean, I heard of a story where a man is stopped by a policeman. He's a Chinese gentleman. He hands him a South African ID document, but he can't say hello or goodbye or officer, what do you want in either English or Afrikaans, but he's got an ID document. I mean, how does that happen? How does he assimilate into South Africa when he can't even speak English or Afrikaans, let alone Zulu, Xhosa, or Shangaan? So we've got to have a look at that. So the criterion has been based principally out of the Canadian, the American, the United Kingdom, and Australian immigration requirements, and an amalgamation of all of those has been put together in our policy, and that is how we are going to be going forward. You've got to comply with all of those requirements, and that would require, I think, reading and writing and verbal English and Afrikaans exam to become a citizen, of course.
Shawn, Jacques, correct me if I'm wrong, but Shawn, I think Jacques might also want to know initially who's going to be the citizens of our new country. Jacques?
Yes,
that's an interesting question.
Yes, correct.
Okay. That is a very interesting question, Jacques. And we have put a team into this behind the work that has come from your president of the ULA, Mr. Hein, and brought through to the United Cape States. We've taken the documents and we've worked on it and put other experts into play who have actually found very, very interesting information, which I'm going to share with you now. And that is as follows, Jacques. The people that are going to have immediate citizenship in the country have to have a common history and a tie to the land around about a language or a religion or a culture or an ethnicity. And the tie to the land is absolutely vital, a historical tie to the land. If there's no historical tie to the land, you cannot be afforded citizenry or citizenship. So the law, international law, requires that you have a historical tie to the land. If you later want to assimilate into that culture, well, then you go through the normal process of immigration. But as a primary requirement, you have to, obviously, I'm sure you know, because you know the ULA has made it very, very clear, a part of the legal process that you have either a common language or a common culture or a common ethnicity or a common religion. Those are the four main tiers with a history. But it's that historical tie to the land that excludes anybody. It's got nothing to do with racism. It's got to do with historical connectivity. So when there's a historical connectivity to the land, go there. So, for example, I believe both Masoa Lakota and Julius Malema have on a public stage and platform both said at different times that the Bantu people never crossed the Fish River, by example. So if they never crossed over the Fish River towards the Cape, they state they have no historical tie beyond the Fish River. We're not making that statement, they have. So with that as a concept, if you do not have a historical tie to the land, well, what's the point in being a citizen there? And it's that historical tie that separates the difference between immediate citizen and somebody who needs to immigrate to become a citizen. Does that answer your question, Jockey?
Yes, but it now raises another question. Sorry.
Okay.
So what happened to those people that are at this point in time living in the Capeland, doesn't have a historical tie to this land? What will happen to them when the United Cape States is now officially on its own? What will happen to those people?
Look, that is a very, very in-your-face question, and it needs to be answered. What we are probably going to be doing is we are probably going to apply international law once again, because unfortunately it's very, very clear in the law that if there's no international tie, they cannot get citizenship. So they're not citizens. But obviously things like permanent residency or residency permits or so on and so on will be instituted. For those who are there that are working and are actively building the nation, obviously we want to keep our economy turning. I mean, let me tell you, just I'm going to do a sideline and come back. We are going to have, if we have any ability, we are going to be running at least a $250 billion economy within the first 3 to 5 years. This is going to be a first world nation again if it kills us. We're going to get to that within 3 to 5 years. So we want a powerful, booming economy. But those who are sitting in the Cape, living off SASSA grants, for example, there will be no SASSA grants in the Cape. We're not giving SASSA grants. So those people that are there will no longer have an income stream. So they are going to have to go back from where they came to gain the income. And if the income is South African driven and from the South African government given, then they must go back to the South African territory to gain their SASSA grant, because they will not be able to use that SASSA grant in our country. And so it is not that we are forcing them out. It's the fact that we are not here to be their social, parachute, and keep socially looking after the people that have got no historical tie, no purpose there, no growth to the economy, and no value except elevating crime in most cases, and or just there so they can change the demographics of the Cape to overthrow a DA, government in the Western Cape. And quite frankly, they are not going to even be part of the show anyway. So what are you trying to be fighting with the opposition party for in a new country, which is not part of the opposition party anymore?
Jacques, does that make sense? So they'll be around for a while. If there's any justification for them to apply for work permits or residency, they will be able to do that. And it's an application and a verification process, just like any other country.
International country, correct? Absolutely,
correct.
Absolutely. Yeah. And remember also, one of the other things that will immediately happen, Jacques, is that we will also be removing the law BBEEE. That goes immediately. Companies will re-register, and the owners that were originally the owners that had to give away, 49 or 50 or 51% of their company will now re-register their company as a normal company. And that BEE law is no longer there. So there's going to be a lot of people who are no longer in a position to be, gaining large salaries just because of a skin color at the detriment of a Capelander getting a job that is going to work properly, and it's going to build on that. So we are probably going to find a lot of people just, naturally immigrating. The other portion is the laws that are going to come into place, which are very akin to the ULA laws, or laws or suggested laws that they're suggesting. The ULA, your documents are very, very unique, and we've incorporated a lot of what has been done because it's part of the legal process. It's already, so to say, internationally vetted. And part of how we're going to go forward. The idea is that we are going to very, very strongly restore law and order by bringing in the death penalty and corporal punishment. So if you sort of decided you're coming from one of our northern countries and you enjoying the fat of the land by selling drugs, that's not going to go down too well with the United Cape States. So you got two choices. We catch you and we execute you as a drug dealer, or we catch you leaving the country and help you across the border into the nearest airplane and back to Nigeria or wherever you came from. So it's really is that we are going to be cleaning out our country from the criminal elements, and we're going to start taking care of our people. We're going to start looking after our people in a way that should have been done from the start. And tell you what, rape will become a thing of the past. Murder will become something that we don't hear about. Drug dealing will not happen. How many of our people are enslaved to drugs that are destroying their lives? Must stop. Must stop now. And as soon as we go into our new country, these laws will be promulgated and we will be removing those laws. There's 114 plus laws that have to be instantaneously revoked upon secession. Instantaneously, and those are the BEE laws. Gone. So nobody's going to be getting a free ride anymore. And I'm talking too much. I hope that answers your question, Jacques.
Very, very thoroughly answered, Shawn. Thank you very much. Jacques, I'm sure you're happy.
Yes, I do agree. I also think there's going to be a lot of work to be done once the United Cape States is on its own. So I understand there is a lot of work. I understand that the questions that I might have now is work in progress. It's not a straight up question. So I understand that. So, but yeah, for that is all of my questions for now.
Fantastic, Jacques. Thank you so very much for participating.
Jacques.
We always appreciate it. Shawn, Brett Austin has also had his hand up. Brett, you just need to touch that microphone again. You will unmute yourself and then you can speak with Shawn. Brett, you just need to unmute yourself again by touching that little grey microphone. There we go. Good evening, Brett.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Absolutely. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to ask a question, right? So I'm a white South African English-speaking man living in KwaZulu-Natal, right? I have a wife who's Afrikaans, so we're a proper, full mix. If we decide, okay, right, here we are in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal, and we want to move ourselves into the new country, so to speak, we would obviously move our whole household down into that area, wherever it is in the demarcated area, and then physically immigrate as a South African. So we drop our South African ID and we now apply for a new ID. Is that exactly what you guys are saying?
That's if you happen to wait until after the secession, Brett. Yes, that's how you're going to do it. Right now, pack your toys, go and live in the Cape, and you're automatically there. You just get issued a new book or a new card or whatever the case is. Yeah, exactly. That is exactly it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying.
Immediately.
This whole thing transitions. We're gonna pack
and just to add to what you're saying. Sorry, I'm talking over you. Speak again, Brett. I'll hold my peace.
So if we decide, okay, right, this is something that we want to be a part of and grow in, we pack up now, we move down there, and when it all transitions over to the new spot, we're already part of it.
Correct. You see, you've given me your pedigree, so you British stock, I gather, Brett.
Well, originally, yeah, my grandparents are out of Rhodesia, but they were obviously British before.
Yes. Okay, and then
did you
obviously your wife is Afrikaans speaking, so she comes from Afrikaans stock. Sorry, I didn't. Somebody was talking. I didn't make a. So your wife comes from Afrikaans stock, then, Brett, and so in the combination, you left in a space where you automatically gain citizenship. And all the people in the country, if you wanted to stay in KZN, you would get dual citizenship immediately.
Okay.
And then you can just move over at any time. But I do suggest you come out earlier. You know what I mean?
Yes. No. I totally get that. Okay. So that it's basically okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll get on with Shawn and I'll chat to him a little bit, and then or to the whole system. I don't know. I only kind of joined on last night for the first time, but I've heard about it once or twice, and I'm looking quite forward to this. I think it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful change for the world. Not just, this is not going to affect South Africa. This is going to affect the whole world.
I like thinking, Brett, and I have to concur with you 100%. It will affect the world. What we're going to do in the United Cape States is going to send a tremor and a shiver up most of this cabal's spine. But you know what? It will shake the world. I'm with you.
Yeah, I know. It will, definitely.
Brilliant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. You happy?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Fantastic. Good. We hope to see a lot more of you on the groups and around the activity, because we're not quite there yet. We're still at a point where we've got one or two more steps to go in our quest for secession. Aren't we, Shawn?
Little bit to go. There's a lot of exciting things that are happening and have happened behind the scenes, which, if you will permit, Brett, I'm not going to tell you. Because I want the excitement to be overwhelming, and when it comes out, you're going to spasm.
No. You see, now you're talking like a doctor.
I know. I'm looking very forward to it. We've done a lot of work. We've made a lot of inroads. I mean, understand this. I'm going to just leave this little tidbit and not say another word after that. I mean, we were able to go on a roadshow and meet with many people. When we met with your president, he signed an agreement with the United Cape States. All I'm going to say is he wasn't the only one.
Understood loud and clear.
Okay. Marvelous.
Yeah, no, thank you. What I do need to affirm, though, is that we still need to get the mandates. The mandates still need to come in, and we're asking everybody on this call to share the excitement and to get to understand that we need them to get more mandates, right?
Absolutely. Every mandate that is acquired is vital to the process. So we need to get as many mandates as we can, get as many people as we can into the process. Look, can you imagine? Let's just run down an exciting rabbit hole from it and get very excited. Let's just assume we're going to be leaving this current state of affairs and we're moving into the United Cape States in let's pick a month. October, September, August.
September.
Let's just pick a month. Okay? September. Let's pick September it is. Right. We're going to leave to September. How many people need to know about this? We were having a look at the northwestern area of our country, and there's 1.3 million Afrikaans speaking people and English and Afrikaans speaking people just in that area alone. 1.3 million people. How are they going to know about it if they don't know about it now, if we're not telling them? How are we going to educate them and get them to be as excited as we are and wanting to run as quick as we are into this new land? I mean, hello. We've got to get them to know about it. So we've got to get a massive advertising program together so we can tell the world what's going on. And that's what we're working towards. But once we start with that program, believe me, Brett, you better pack your bags, my butt, and you better start finding a space in the Cape, because we've got a lot of movement and a lot of work. As Jacques says, there's a lot of work. And as long as we're hiring Capelanders, let's work ourselves to the bone.
Well, I'm a plumber by trade.
Huh.
So I can help with the infrastructure. I'm a master plumber, if I could say that. But I don't really trade in that anymore. I manufacture a health drink, and we go around and we help heal people. So, and I'm an ex-DJ from many, many years ago. I did many thousands of weddings and things like that over my lifetime. And I have a huge amount of people that I know. So as soon as I've seen like the paperwork, so I'm going to get them to email me. I think it's Shawn. I did sign the mandate yesterday, but I'd like to get the paperwork together because I've already spoken to about 40 people in the last day. So from last night until
well
today.
done.
So yeah, I wanted to sit in on this one tonight so I could hear what you guys would say. And then, yeah, we're very keen. We were actually going to immigrate to Mauritius, strangely enough. And when they said, no, you can move down to the Cape, I said, well, even better. I don't want to go and live on a little island. I'd rather live on South African soil. This is where I was born. This is where I grew up. And I'd rather take the economy of the business that I'm busy putting together, which is massive, it's huge, and bring it into an economy like that, because I just believe it's going to be so much better than being taken advantage of by the South African government.
Well done, Brett. Come, you're welcome. Come. The United Cape States welcomes you with open arms.
Okay, no, that's great.
Brett,
cool.
Yeah, it's very exciting listening to what you're saying. And I just want to extend an open invitation. Shawn, Dr. Shawn Stewart is our guest this evening. He's actually in the umbrella organization of the UCS, the new country. He's not part of the ULA, the United Liberty Alliance. And this, where we are now, this channel is an initiative of the ULA. We're the ones driving the mandates. So I'd like to invite anybody, yourself, Brett Austin, and anybody else, if you have a group of people, 5, 10, 15, 100 people, that you'd like us to do a presentation for, a Zoom presentation, either myself, we've got Peter de Beer on the call this evening. He's our head of marketing. He's available. And we'll even ask Hein, who is the president of the ULA, to come and say a couple of words. So please don't feel on your own. Please don't feel like you have to do this whole thing yourself. There are people that have got a great deal of experience that are really keen to help.
Okay. No, that's wonderful. I'm very keen. And I know lots of people that are ready to move out of KwaZulu-Natal and get down to Cape.
Wonderful. Yeah. Good. Well, I'm going to beat you in that race. We've already on our way. Thanks, Brett. Cool. Thanks so much for your participation. Shawn, it was absolutely fantastic having you on the live stream this evening. Sorry, I see there's one more hand up here, David Zunamir. David, I've added you to the stream. You just have to unmute yourself again, and then you can speak to Shawn. Just touch that little gray icon, the speaker with a line through it. You can touch that again, and you'll be unmuted. You can speak to Shawn. David, you just need to unmute yourself again. Okay, it might be a little technical hiccup. People often do that. They touch the unmute button by accident, and then not sure what to do after that. All right, so if there are no more questions, we've kind of come to the end of our time. It was an absolute delight having you chat with us this evening, Shawn. I hope we can do this more often. It is so inspirational, and so, one thing, ladies and gentlemen, on this call that I've spoken with Shawn a couple of times, and I'm never left not being inspired and excited about what's happening. So I'm just going to try David again. He seemed to unmute himself, and then David, you can just try again. If you do have a question, maybe David's just having a little bit of finger trouble there.
I think hello.
There we go. David, can you hear me?
Okay, all right. Maybe I'm a little bit illiterate with this stuff.
It's all right. You're on now. It's loud and clear. Speak to Shawn. Go ahead.
Who am I speaking to? Am I speaking to Shawn or who?
You speak to Shawn Stewart now.
Okay. Shawn, I am actually involved with another group or two.
Okay.
But I can talk to you directly at some time. Now, but guys thought of roadshows? This seems to be the in thing these days around the world. Getting a group together and having some of the authoritative guys talking to them. And so that we eyeball to eyeball and we can ask questions and do all the paperwork that needs to be done at the same time. Have you thought of that?
David, what a fantastic
All right, David.
idea. Sorry, Brett, carry on.
100. No, that's fine. David, it's Brett Pretoria speaking, yeah, and the label on the screen says ULA Liberty Channel. It's the ULA's responsibility, basically. Our what's the word? It's really just what we're doing is doing those mandates. So yes, I love what you're saying. I'd love to communicate with you offline at some time. As I mentioned to Brett earlier, we can do this directly if we've got people available in your area. We can do it on a Zoom call, and then we can, pull in the big guns like, even Hein Marks. Will be able to join us on there. But yeah, fantastic idea. I absolutely love it. Thank you. We'll definitely be in touch with you, David.
All right, wonderful. Yeah, I've been watching other people around the world. I've been, for 9 or 10 years now, I've been watching the international political situation, particularly the USA, which is very, very closely related to what we're doing and what's happening to us. In fact, I've told people that we are actually, South Africa was selected to be a dummy run. So, the cabal has a huge interest in South Africa for that specific reason. I don't want to talk too much, but, I've watched other so-called road shows and they work. You've obviously heard of Rainer Fuhrmisch, the German expert, lawyer,
Yes.
and they're doing road shows in the United States at the moment, and they're having great success, good attendances, and ears have picked up and notice is being taken of them. And I think this is a good way of doing it here.
Fantastic. Good. Definitely be in touch with you, David. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Have a
What
great
area
evening.
are you in?
I'm in Western Cape. I'm in Langebaan right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. We'll get somebody in that area. I'm going to be in that area in about 2 months. So
great. Then we should definitely have contact. The other thing I'd like to say, and somebody seemed to have a little bit of doubt about what was said by Shawn about the procedures and so on, as to having a claim to the United Cape States. This is not strange to other countries, to many, many other countries, particularly in the East. I spent a lot of time in Thailand. You cannot become a citizen of Thailand and most of the other Eastern countries if you don't have a root system, as it were. You can forget about it. And although one feels bitter now and then because you're a zero, you might have long stay visa and that kind of thing, but you don't have the vote, you don't have this, you don't have that. So it's not strange.
Shawn?
Yeah, I agree. He's 100% correct. It's not a foreign concept that if you don't have claim, you can't be involved. And many countries actually hold these things as fundamental to their citizenship. Many. So it's absolutely common practice across the globe, but there would be some groups, and I'm not going to mention too many, I'm not going to mention any of them in our own country, that actually want to say that you don't have to have claim. And that by not having claim, you can then include anybody. And some of them are trying to base their independence polling based purely on the fact that whoever wants to go can go. When in actual fact, most of them that want to go, well, I'm very excited for you. But if you've got no claim to the land, you have no claim. And
exactly.
This is just unfortunate. Okay, just as David made absolutely 100% clear, he's 100% correct. If you don't have claim, you can't play.
Here we go. We're on the same page. Same page.
100%.
Fantastic, David. Thank you. We will be in touch, Shawn. We need to close down now. So thank you very much. Highly appreciated that you could be with us this evening. Look forward to having you on again. And would just like to, maybe a last word from you, Shawn, just to inspire everybody to get out there and get those mandates.
Well, I tell you what, I think what you guys are doing already is a fantastic job, but I think we need to ramp up the odds a little bit. We've got to get out there. We've got to tell everybody freedom is free. It's just not cheap. You got to spend your time. You got to put in your talent. You got to, take your treasure and let's build this nation of ours and let us be free before the end of this year. That is my plan. That is my target. Help me. Let us go together. I know, if it wasn't for the work of your president, again, I'm saying this, and for the work that the ULA has done, we'd be behind on a few things. But because of them, we're miles ahead of the race. And I want to tell you something. Help us. We're going to cross the line together, and we're going to be free before 2023.
Absolutely fantastic. Dr. Shawn Stewart, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And everybody else, thanks for being on the call with us. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon. Bye now.
Thanks, Dave. God bless. Cheerio.